So thank you to all our event and table partners. In true rising tide lifts all ships fashion, the reason that so many of you are here today is because you have been hosted by an incredible champion of this initiative. So firstly, to our presenting and networking partner, Rawsons Appliances, John, and your team, thank you. And to our 25 table partners, now bear with me, Artedomus, Alice, Arup, Or, AWS, Katarina, Cosentino, Penny, Future Urban, Mark, Odessa, Kirstine, Partech, Brenton, Polytech, Chi-Chi, sorry for scaring you about the food before. Shape, to Grant, Jody and the team, Signature Floors, Andrew, Stone Ambassador, Jessamy, Stratco, Sean, Studio Graham, Dave and Graham, the first architecture practice to take up a table, Stylecraft, Stephanie, UniSA, Rachel, WSP, James and Anthony. Australian Sustainable Hardwoods, our friends at Ash, Nathan, welcome to South Australia. BCA Engineers, Leith, Best Tech, Aaron, Brickworks, Sarah, Chris Sale Consulting, Travis and Brian, D Squared, Paul and Deb, FDC, Gareth and Tom, RLB, Sam and Andrew, and the newly badged TF certifiers and consultants, Luke. Thank you for letting me get through that. I want to labour on it because, again, this room wouldn't be full without you, and it's been very much by design to have these discussions not in an echo chamber, just amongst particular silos of our industries and our community. It's to bring you all in together, so thank you so much. So housekeeping. In an emergency, listen out for sirens and follow exit signs to vacate the building. Toilets are located outside the foyer, to the left, down the stairs, or out to the right. Phones on silent, but please use them. Here's how. We're all about impact, and more importantly, impact at scale, so please flood the socials with the content from today. On Instagram, tag @futureforum_ADL and hashtags generally FutureForum and Design Futures. For the first time, we have CPD available. 2 formal points. Scan the QR code on screen or on your table and follow the online prompts. I've been told it's very straightforward. We recommend you fill out all the answers during or after each of the presentations. There's 3 questions per speaker. Short answers are completely fine. Please ensure you fill out all your personal details, and once completed, we'll be in touch within a week with your certificate. If you have any issues, find a DAS team member during the break. Today's event is also being recorded, so all content will be made afterwards available for proliferation. We're also using Slido to capture your thoughts across the day, so again, you can use your device to scan the QR code on the screen or on your table, or visit slido.com and enter the code Design Futures. Okay. Through all that. So, Future Forum is an initiative that I instigated in 2015, following my time as the Jack Hobbs McConnell Travelling Fellow in Architecture. Following my travels, I identified that there's a value that architects and design thinkers can bring to big, complex challenges, and so I wanted to create a platform for the exploration of different ways of thinking and doing. It was important to do this outside of the architecture and design bubble, and so the events were specifically designed to be more open and available and accessible to a more diverse group of participants across sectors with government in the room. The first event was held in the smaller banqueting room just over the way back in October 2015 with around 80 people. And we talked about driverless cars. And the Premier Jay Weatherall, the then Premier Jay Weatherall, was in the room with us. Since then, we've held 8 other forums across a range of subject matters, including health and wellbeing, learning, economies of the future, parkland legacies and futures, housing, the circular economy, and advanced construction. Today, as I mentioned, we're building on the event from last year, Building Futures, by venturing upstream to an exploration of the systems that shape our world. So why Design Futures? In a world of uncertainty and accelerating change, the systems that support the way we live, learn, work, and play are struggling to adapt. Often shaped by 19th century tools to support 20th century ideas, these systems are unequipped to meet or solve our 21st century challenges. Rapid climate change, colonial legacies, growing social inequality, housing affordability, high inflation, and global supply chain disruptions are all indicators that highlight the expiration of these systems and the critical need for transformative intervention. As architects, designers, engineers, builders, makers, and professionals operating within private and public realms, how can we influence these systems? How do we extend our agency as the deliverers of the built environment to the shapers of the systems we operate within? When Shannon Walk and I sat down to plan the theming for this year's forum, we wanted to use this platform to explore how we, the universal we, can find our way upstream to influence systems at their source. And so our team curated a collection of speakers who can offer us all an insight to their world, their craft, and their strategies for system-level thinking. We will begin with Jack Buckskin, a proud Kaurna and Narungga man who is reawakening his language and culture, and in the process offering us the opportunity to listen and embrace an alternate perspective on what shared futures could look like. With portfolios that include climate, environment and water, industry, innovation and science, and workforce and population strategy, it should go without saying why we invited the Deputy Premier, the Honourable Dr. Susan Close, to join us today. I look forward to hearing from her and the opportunity to have a chat as well. Next up is our keynote, Dan Hill, a global citizen who has lived and worked in public and private sector roles around the world. Author of Dark Matter and Trojan Horses, a strategic design vocabulary, he will share with us his global perspective together with local applications. After a short break and a word from our event partners, Rawsons, we will hear from our collection of incredible speakers. Lucinda McLean of NMBW, Anna Maskell of Public Realm Lab, and Amelia Borg and Nicholas Braun of Sibling. Each will offer demonstrators that start to hint at different ways of realising built outcomes by challenging incumbent systems. Okay, let's get into it. Will you please welcome to the stage Jack Buckskin.
Now, Marnie, how are we all? After all that housekeeping, nobody cared to ask you how you was. Well done, Dino. Even though they actually don't care anyway. So, look, firstly, if you don't know me, my name's Jack. I am proud Kaurna, Narungga and Warrunga man, 3 Aboriginal groups from South Australia. My dad's Italian and Scottish. I like to acknowledge my dad when I do this. He obviously helped make me, and him and my mum started this thing we now know as reconciliation. I'm just a product of it, so good joke, right? Shit house. Talking about systems and how things change as well, embedding into how, mixing things up a little bit. My mum and dad did that. They were both minorities back in the 70s at their high school, and obviously what we see now is very different to what my mother's generation and my grandfather's generation had. But I get the opportunity to welcome you on the country, to acknowledge our ancestors that go before us in a culture that is, I guess, maintained itself for so long, living in these countries, obviously having, I'm sure you guys know a bit of the history as well, having it forcefully removed from, I guess, every individual. Our people put onto missions and reserves to lose language and culture. Now to see it embedded back into our mainstream society, it's amazing to be a part of. My mum didn't get an opportunity to do this kind of stuff. She came to Adelaide as an 11-year-old kid, and she was the first person in her family to be able to do so. And my grandfather had to exempt himself from being an Aboriginal person just to leave to go and work in the railways over in the Riverland. So we've come a long way. And when I grew up, they said, "Jack, what do you want to be?" I said, "Play AFL footy." They said, "What's your plan B then?" I said, "AFL footy." They said, "Give us something a little bit different." I said, "Maybe SANFL footy." I said, "What don't you want to do?" I said, "Work in education." My mum worked at my primary school and it was the suckiest time ever. So for me, it is an honour to represent my whole family and community in welcoming people on the country. It's something, one of those protocols that's been part of our culture for so long. And now that we've been embedded in the mainstream society, it's like, what do you do to try and bring others on a journey? A protocol that is significant for us as Aboriginal people to invite our guests on the country, and not just guests that come from afar, but we have lots of different lands and family lands across Kaurna territory, and when we enter somebody else's space, it's no longer ours. So to teach people about what it's like to be a human, because I think over our times, we're talking about 19th century and 20th century tools or whatever it was Dino was talking about. There's nothing wrong with the old, and people say, don't fix it if it's not broken. But at the same time, we understand in the society we live in, there's a lot of things that are broken because it's moved in such a fast pace. our duty in acknowledging is helping people reconnect to what it's like to be a human, and not so caught up in the financial construction side of things of world and economically driven societies, which I understand use are all businesses, and that's a massive part of it as well. But at the forefront should be who we are as people and as humans, and maintaining that as well, because without our country there is no people. So you can build as much things as you want, if there's no people here, nobody's going to enjoy it. So make sure you're taking that in consideration when we're talking about future-proofing our whole society. Welcome and pay respects to other Indigenous and Aboriginal people, but pay respects to our spiritual ancestors as we stay here. And when we talk about spiritual ancestors, not just people that are, that are in our ancient ancestors in the time of memorial, what you guys call the dream time, but people that are no longer with us in the physical world. We pay respects and acknowledge them because they guide and protect all of us as individuals in our daily practice. So welcome on behalf of Kaurna people to Kaurna country. I'm also going to play a little bit of the yiraki and the didgeridoo. Again, if it's not broken, don't fix it. This thing was probably the first instrument. Some very creative guy walked up to a hollow log one day and was like, if I blow in that, I'm going to make a musical instrument. And then there was like, in years down the track, this guy called Jack's going to play it at the town hall about future design. That guy had no idea what he was doing, right? But the same thing with our language. We took our whole language revitalisation from historical written resources, books that nobody actually ever reads anymore. For 15 years, we got nowhere. People didn't even know who Kaurna people were when I started nearly 20 years ago. And in the last 5 years, how much Kaurna language is embedded into our mainstream society because we've evolved and changed and moved into a new direction using new tools, things like YouTube. Kids love YouTube. They don't like books anymore. And it took the elders forever to let us take the lead on it, and now we're finally starting to push there. So like just thinking about other ways around it and being open-minded is amazing. But the didgeridoo, it's one of those things that you just don't have to change. I'll leave you one more thing. Somebody was screaming out, "Encore!" Or was I hearing things? Didgeridoos evolved over time. If you haven't noticed, there's a thing called a didgeridoo. It's like a trombone and a didgeridoo in one. It's built of plastic. So even future-proofing didgeridoos works as well. I've got to get myself one because it's so much easier to hold up the whole time, because that's the hardest thing with playing didgeridoos, trying to hold it up. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the afternoon, guys. Thanks for allowing me to be here. Thank you.